Whilst I alone did call upon thy aid, my verse alone had all thy gentle grace. But now my gracious numbers are decayed, and my sick muse doth find another place. I grant, sweet love, my lovely argument deserves the travail of a worthier pen. Yet what of thee, thy poet doth invent, he robs thee of, and pays it thee again. He lends thee virtue, and he stole that word from thy behaviour. Beauty doth he give, and found it in thy cheek. He can afford no praise to thee, but what in thee doth live. Then thank him not for that which he doth say, since what he owes thee, thou thyself dost pay. Sonnet 77. Similar to Sonnet 78. A couple of things I noticed about this one. The rival poet rants, which they seem to be rants, tend to have this like snowball effect kind of momentum of like, as he's listing these things that are bothering him, it's giving him more angst about these things, and it just kind of results in these thoughts kind of overlapping and interrupting each other. But I did find the premise of these rival poet sonnets interesting in that the crux of them seems to be critiquing praise and differentiating what praise is worthwhile versus what praise should not be recognized. And in one way, Shakespeare seems to be saying, like, you, the fair youth, are objectively great, beautiful, whatever. And it doesn't even really matter that these other people are saying it, because they're just seeing it in you. They're like, who cares what these idiots say? They're just, of course, what they say is going to sound beautiful because they're talking about you. And it got me thinking about a couple of things, one of which is the concept of something being worthwhile because you're telling it it is so. And that's especially thought-provoking when thinking about a person and like someone telling someone they're beautiful. Because the way Shakespeare writes about it sometimes, he writes both. I mean, sometimes he writes about things from the standpoint of like, this is a beautiful thing. You should not be impressed in what I am saying about it because the thing is what's beautiful. What I'm saying sounds beautiful because I'm talking about this thing that is beautiful. And so I think the idea of something being objectively beautiful versus words being beautiful is an interesting one because there is a difference. Like, you can tell the difference between Shakespeare writing about a rose versus a 6-year-old writing about a rose. You know, the language can be beautiful regardless of the subject. But that doesn't seem to be the tone of a lot of these, not just the rival poet, but the fair youth one too, because he tends to be self-deprecating about like, well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're the beautiful thing. I'm just, saying the words. And it's like, I don't think that you need to be so black and white about it. But the other thing it got me thinking about was the idea of something being worthwhile because it's being told it is, versus the thing being worthwhile independent of what people say about it. And I do find that is a thing. I mean, that's a thing today, right? Of like, and I feel like that concept is kind of inextricably linked with like self-esteem and self-confidence and all these things. It's like being able to parse between knowing something to be true, regardless of what people are telling you about it, versus, and especially when it's something to do with like a creative endeavor that you want validation for. I feel like that's a very human impulse to want validation for something that you've created. But ultimately, I think there is objective value in things that, and maybe it's just a perspective thing. Maybe it's just a matter of like, not if you just look for one voice to validate something, almost anything can be validated. But if you narrow the focus to like, well, okay, maybe I'll just try to focus on what I think. And if this has not reached my perception of what is worthwhile, then it isn't. And I should either keep working at something or think, try something else or whatever it is. Um, because ultimately, if you just put it to the world, you're going to find one person out there that either thinks it's great or thinks it's shit. And just because you can find one person that thinks either of those things doesn't make it that thing. So I don't know. Those are the little side tangents my brain went down when thinking about this sonnet. It's kind of difficult to memorize, to be honest. It starts differently than like the first the first four lines are almost a different sonnet. He's like thinking about something, and then he's just like, okay, let me just cut to what I actually want to say, because as soon as he starts the I grant, sweet love, thy lovely argument, boom, he just keeps going from there on until the rhyming couplet at the end, where he kind of just like realizing that he just rambled on for however long. He's like, you know what? Don't thank him for what they say, because okay, I've said my piece. So yeah, these are interesting. I don't find a big emotional connection to these as much as the Fair Youth Sonnets, because even with the Fair Youth Sonnets, I feel like you can take the motivation for that and apply it to affection, love, more universal things. Than this one is like, it's not quite jealousy. It's like a specific kind of jealousy, but also like an intellectual argument. And I don't know, I find it a little bit tougher to relate to on a personal level. But yeah, that was Sonnet 79. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do a little bit more of these. I mean, everyone's kind of spending a lot of time inside now, so I should have a little bit more time to do these. So I'll try to do some more Shakespeare. But yeah, stay safe, stay clean, and we'll be back with more Shakespeare soon.